Hi everyone, welcome. Hi Simpiwe.
Hello, hello.
Hi, Timberway.
Hi
Sorry
Beautiful
everyone.
sunny day.
apologizing.
Yeah, that's not Cape Town.
I
Right,
have network issues in the area, not just my house. And so, number one, I had to be outside as the best position. And secondly, I can't have a virtual background that works properly. It just keeps on buffering and having a bit of static. So I figured this is best. Let's just live with it.
right. Look, I think we're glad you're on here. I think we have about 8 participants, including ourselves. So I think it would be a good time for us to just start and make sure that we at least get the most out of this as possible. The clock is already ticking, and as we know, we had 40 minutes before I shaved off three in the beginning. My name is Nomfundo Makubo. I am stakeholder coordinator with the South African Radio Astronomy Observatory. And yeah, I'm just going to give over to Simpiwe to just kind of give us, kind of an overview of what today is actually about and why this is important. And then I'll also just introduce our other guests thereafter. And then we'll also just, ask people that are in the meeting as well. All of you welcome. And we'll ask them if you have any questions or if you have any comments, please feel empowered to use the chat box and, ask any questions and raise your hand. And then we can just talk more about this. And yeah, as I think, yeah, I'm the facilitator for today. So yeah, Simpiwe, do you wanna just go ahead and just give us an overview about this? What is this about? Um, you know, the details.
All right. Thank you, Nomfundo, for agreeing to collaborate with me in putting this together. Really appreciate it. I want to thank all the participants. And my name is Mpiwe Madlanga. I am the Science Engagement Coordinator at CEREO, which is the South African Radio Astronomy Observatory. And today we are going to have a conversation and engagement about collaboration, specifically under a program that we had running, which is MAPP9. And that's an acronym, which is the Multi-Wavelength Astronomy Public Participation Program. And the 9 itself stands for National and International Non-Traditional Exchange. And this was the brainchild of the National Radio Astronomy Observatory from the US, partnering with CEREO. And so in the early days, there was an exchange from South Africa, some people being chosen to go to the United States to run some projects. And on the back of that, CEREO's contribution was to partner with other entities in the country, especially those involved in science engagement, science communication, and that type of work. Of course, promoting research, demystifying science, and all of that. And so a number of representatives from such facilities were chosen, people that had shown that they have a passion and they've got ways in which they do innovative services, products, and putting together programs. Over a period of a month, they travel to various sites across the country, working toward ideation of individual projects, but the whole collaborative ethos was being outlined. In the end, we had a certain number of people that were assisted through a grant. And once they got their grants, they then ran with whatever ideas that they came with. And we're glad and so proud that today we have two of those people that were in the program. And production, Rising Star, is what we'll be talking about, and they'll explain a bit more about that. So it is Daniel from SAO and Sally from UCT and Iziko Museum and Digital Planetarium. But of course, they'll explain that further. All right, I'll leave it there for now.
Thank you so much, Simpiwe. I think it would probably be a good idea for us to just, or at least for me to just play, a clipping of the video itself, just to kind of give an idea to those who might not know. It's a 37-second video, so after that, we'll just go back into just speaking with you all and just, hearing what this journey was about and so forth. So I am going to now share this screen and just play the video. Please let me know if you do not hear it. Can you all see it? So you can't hear the sound. I'm going to try and take out my earphones and see if that doesn't change anything.
So when you share the screen for the first time, on the bottom bar, there should be a little button, bottom left-hand corner, that says Share Computer Sound.
So I have share screen and then...
When you're selecting the window.
Okay.
And then bottom left, it says Share Computer Sound.
Ah, there we go. Thank you.
There we go.
Yay, so that was basically just a short clipping, and I can see Sally's face already.
It's still playing now in the background.
It
just
is?
Stop sharing it. Yeah.
I did stop. Let's see. It should be quiet, right?
Okay, yeah, I'll stop now.
There we go. Thank you. So I'm just quickly going to jump into the questions. We have Dr. Sally McFarlane here, who was, working with this project. She works with UCT as well as the Iziko project. She currently works as a postdoctoral fellow and a part-time lecturer at the Department of Astronomy at the University of Cape Town. The purpose of her postdoc is to work with IDIA Visualization Laboratory to explore the immersed visualization of scientific data within the digital dome environment, specifically using the Iziko Planetarium and Digital Dome in Cape Town. She's also the chair of the National Astronomy Education Coordination. She's the coordinator team for South Africa. And that's just part of the work that she does. Sally, could you just briefly tell us about this journey and what all of this, the creating of this film entailed, and why this is important in communicating science, to other audiences that might not be as privy to the field?
Well, thank you so much, Nomfundo and Simpiwe, for this opportunity. I think one of the reasons why I'm smiling is that is why I'm doing what I'm doing, and that's because we saw it without sound. And it was okay, but then we saw it with sound, and it was just that much more impressive.
Right.
Now you can imagine taking that and having it 360 as a fully immersive, and you just get that extra sense. And I think that's what the planetarium does for us. It gives us this extra look. It takes us to places such as Sutherland, such as Meerkat, places that are often remote and inaccessible to public. that makes it accessible and really shows the public what South Africa has to offer. And indeed, that's one of the big reasons why we did this film. It's because although we have all these amazing achievements in South Africa, scientific achievements over the last couple of decades, the general public still remained largely unaware of this.
Right.
So in order to address this, we looked at other media, and with the full digital upgrade that the Iziko Planetarium underwent about 3 years ago now, it provided us with this perfect avenue to explore and to really start to educate the public in a new way, an exciting way.
Right.
So that's how we got into it. Yeah.
I think that's quite exciting, and I think what you mentioned now touches a lot on what Simpiwe spoke about in the beginning, you know, the idea of collaboration and almost bringing these completely different, you know, countries together firstly, but also just these completely different sciences. You know, you have astronomy and you have, you know, different sorts of media. What are, you know, some of, you know, in your experience, what are some of the, you know, why is this necessary? Why should people pursue this, and why should people, you know, continue to try and, you know, do the things that you're doing?
Well, I guess often in our careers here in astronomy, we often get asked by the public, why are we doing, what are we doing? And of course, there's always that question, how do we justify spending so much on these fantastic instruments and all this exciting research? Well, I think the easiest way to show them, the easiest way is to actually physically show them what we're doing, to get them excited. Right. And also to inspire that same sense of pride in the achievements. And you hit the nail on the head there. It's not just in sciences, not just in astronomy rather, it's in all sciences and also in all the arts. I mean, South Africa has got so much to be proud about. And it's almost, we want to instill the same sense of pride that South Africa has in the sports as they have, you know, instill that sense of pride in the sciences as well.
I think that's, you know, quite an important thing to mention, you know, just the comparison, you know, with the excitement over sports and, you know, the excitement over science, you know, with projects like SALT and the SKA in South Africa. So thank you very much. I would encourage also, I'd like to extend an invite to everyone who is in the meeting. If you have any questions, please do post them in the chat, and then we can just, you know, address them to the people that are working with this project. We can address them to Sally and Daniel and Simpiwe as well. I'm going to go over to Dr. Daniel Konama, and he is a science engagement astronomer at the South African Astronomical Observatory. It's basically a sister organization of SAREO, and it's the National Center for Optical Infrared Astronomy in South Africa. Its prime function is to conduct fundamental research in astronomy and astrophysics. In his current role, Daniel is tasked with the promotion and communication of world-class research happening at the SAAO and other astronomical institutions in the country, and he has extensive experience in science engagement, performing regular television, radio interviews, as well as public talks at venues in the country. His recent work has also equipped him with a diverse range of skills involving the management of technical projects and collaborating with colleagues around the world. So Daniel, welcome, and thank you so much for being here. I'm going to extend
Thank you for that introduction.
It's an absolute pleasure. I'm going to also extend this it's a similar question that I asked to Sally as well, you know, that why is science engagement important, and why should people, you know, why are there so much efforts to, you know, make sure that there's these kinds of materials that are out there, and, you know, why the efforts, why is this so important for the SAAO and, you know, astronomy in general?
Yeah, I think, I mean, as Sally said, this is a question which is often asked by members of the public and other, but the South African government has really invested a lot of money in astronomy over the past 25 years or so. Firstly, with the establishment of SALT, the Southern African Large Telescope in Sutherland, which the SAO operates. And now with the MAPPP telescope, which the Soreo operates, which is arguably the best radio telescope in the world right now. That was a South African project. It was led by South Africans. It was built by South Africans, and it really is a remarkable instrument, and something we should be really proud of. I mean, both of these telescopes, but beyond that, all of the effort we've put in, the the science we're doing is all very, very impressive, and that's something which, you know, the government saw this as an opportunity some years ago, that in South Africa we are in a almost unique position of being a very, very, very good astronomical site in the Southern Hemisphere. And the Southern Hemisphere is the best place to do astronomy from. So, you know, we've got very dark skies, and in terms of the radio observatory in MAPPP, we've got very radio quiet skies. And that's why we were selected as the hosts for the Square Kilometre Array. So, you know, we have a lot to be proud of already. The South African government recognized the opportunities that could come from astronomy, and now we've implemented those, and it's created a huge number of jobs, in terms of, you know, building these instruments and training students and technicians and engineers. But then beyond that, it's really put us on the global stage in terms of astronomy. You know, we're a small country with a small GDP, and we are one of the world leaders when it comes to astronomy. And I think that that's something which we really should be very proud of, and the South African public and the South African taxpayers should really be proud of. It is a monumental achievement, and you know, Sally used sport as an example. Getting the SKA project awarded here is like winning the Rugby World Cup. I mean, to me, it's even better.
Right.
But
Right.
but you know, it's really is something which is massive and should really bring the population together. So that's kind of why we're trying to do this, and try and communicate this excitement, the excitement we feel, and the pride we have in the astronomy and the astronomical facilities we have, and try and share some of that excitement with the public.
Right. I think that you make very, very, you know, important points, you know, just about the magnitude of the science that is being done here. I know that I myself work in the Karoo as well, and, you know, where the physical telescope for Soreo, for SKA is built. And my question then, you know, to you both is that, you know, when you work with communities, you know, with people that might not be, you know, as attuned, I guess, to the science itself, what have the challenges been? And, you know, when thinking about the film itself, you know, and deciding how to communicate about, you know, the projects that are happening, what are some of the thoughts or the challenges, you know, that you had, you know, from a science engagement perspective, in deciding how exactly you're going to communicate this, you know, and the mediums that you chose and so forth? And that's directed to any of you.
Yeah, I think that, I mean, it's definitely was a major concern with this project. Initially, when we sort of put together this project, we were thinking of other opportunities, you know, such as virtual reality headsets, and something more portable that we could take around and interact with as many people as possible. In the end, we decided on a planetarium film, because of the potential global impact of such a film. You know, there are over 4,000 planetaria around the world,
Right.
and 140 million people visit planetaria every year, and there are a limited number of planetarium films being produced. So all of these planetaria are desperate for content. And at the moment, there's no sort of internationally available planetarium film, or planetarium content that's, you know, able to sort of like be shared in this way. So that was kind of what we decided to do, was try and actually share the South African astronomy and the pride we have and the facilities we have globally. So looking way beyond just our country. And yeah, so I think that that was definitely one consideration. And then We have done some other things. So we with this film, we are creating a sort of 2D flat version, which we can show outside of the planet. And we're creating a shorter sort of 3-minute version, which you can put in a VR headset and take to festivals and things like that, to try and reach as many people as possible.
Right. That's quite interesting. So, what are some of the the if I were a person who was interested in exploring much more of this, how does a person go about finding out more and um, yeah, just being more exposed to this and other type science engagement projects and activities that you do related to this?
Well, I think with that, one way that the Iziko Planetarium itself is trying to, I guess, educate the population about astronomy. Planetaria are often considered as a popular link. It's the link between the research facilities and the public. So often it's their window into that world. And at Iziko, what they've done is they've got school programs. So they had a school program before COVID times, and I'm sure they'll reinstitute it next year. But that's also something that we are investigating. So the idea of our film was that it was also meant to act as inspiration for other local content to be created as well. That's one of the biggest things. We want more content, especially content that's appropriate for the schooling system, so that it's adapted to the national curriculum. Also, more films that celebrate, say, our culture and perhaps can be translated into other local African languages as well. So we really want to use our film as more of also an inspiration to these other. And then hopefully to address your question, so that people can go to the planetarium via the school programs or via public, and then just learn for themselves, see what is possible.
Right. Thank you very much also for that last part. When we were looking at the video, I saw the girl with the story about the girl with the ashes, and she throws it into the sky, and that's how the Milky Way came about. There was a talk recently, within Syria about indigenous astronomy and, the links between, the land where the SKA and even salt is built and, the ancestry of the land itself and some of the links that we have with that within Australia as well and other sites where, that are with partner countries that are involved within the SKA. Are there any other similar projects, I know that you were working with people across different countries, and kind of collaborating on this. What are some of the lessons that you all have learned in that process, for the improvement of astronomy locally and globally as well?
Yeah, I think there's a lot. I mean, your first question, we actually have numerous other similar projects we're running. We recently completed a project where we have collected stories from the Khoi and San, and we've made short animations telling those stories. And then we have translated those animations into 4 different languages. So Khoi Guab, which is still spoken by 200,000 people in Southern Africa, as well as English, Afrikaans, and Xhosa. So, to try and reach as many people as possible and share these stories because, and that sort of talks to your second question, which is, in terms of involving international communities, I think that there's really something which we have here in South Africa, which we should be really proud of and not shy away from, and that's an incredible amount of cultural diversity. So, we have the opportunity to share these stories from our people with the world, rather than sort of producing a planetarium film which is based on a sort of Western understanding of the stars or where they came from. We have our own sort of cultural understanding, which we can then celebrate and share. So, the animations were the first sort of big step in that direction and trying to incorporate this this indigenous knowledge into the science communication we're doing. And then, we touched on it briefly in the planetarium film. And actually, I mean, I probably shouldn't mention it, but I'll mention it quietly. Sally and I actually have put in a proposal for the next version of a planetarium film, and that we're hoping to focus entirely on African star law with that.
I think this is quite exciting when you think about it. Thank you for spilling the beans. It's quite a representation of even the SKA project when you think about it in many ways, or at least the Meerkat project, as we know that it is the African export to the world, about what we can do, and the documentary or the film itself is almost like the science communication or the animated version of that export of knowledge, into the world itself. I have a question here, two questions. One question is from Willem. I'm going to start, from Willem Koerts, who asked, I'm curious about the technical or practical part of the production. From the items on the Sutherland side, it looks like you shot some of the footage, like drone shots, during lockdown. Perhaps some more details about the equipment used, etc. Could you speak to that?
Yeah, so that was, it was certainly a challenge, was trying to film during lockdown. When we performed the filming, it was actually a level 4 lockdown. So some services were allowed to operate. The film crew had a service certificate, so they were allowed to film, and the observatory granted them access to the site. The Meerkat footage was previously existing. We didn't film that new. We adapted previous footage for our film. But yeah, and in terms of the footage itself, yes, we had very advanced professional drones. I'm not sure exactly what it was called. I think it was one of the MAPPP Pros, but a very impressive drone. And then a lot of sort of time lapses and evening shots which were set up. Yeah, it was definitely a challenge, but quite exciting. And in some ways, the lockdown what made it slightly easier because the activities on the site were heavily reduced. It was quiet for filming.
Right.
And there is a bit of a challenge because this is a planetarium film and none of us really had experience with filming for planetaria. So we hired a professional company, VR Capture. They produce VR films, and they came along, and we required them to film quite a high resolution, so 8K, in order to be able to be adequately portrayed in the planetarium itself. And so we had them do that, and then they filmed it such that it was 360. So we are one of the few films as well that can be watched in the planetarium as well as in VR. It's also a very strange feeling watching it in VR. Because you sort of fly over.
Right. You're just like in a new reality altogether. Right. So thank you very much. I have one more question, and then I'm going to give over to Simpiwe. We have about 10 minutes left of this talk. I'm just going to give back to Simpiwe also then to, have some last words. One question we have from Fatima M. She says, where can we watch the film in Joburg and Durban? Would love to see it and share the information.
Okay, sorry, Daniel, you want to say something? Okay. It's a very interesting question. At the moment, we've got it being shown in Sutherland, at the Sutherland Planetarium, and at Naval Hill, they will soon be showing it as well. That's in Bloemfontein, of course. We're also exploring trying to show it in mobile planetaria to show it in more different places. But yeah, at the moment, those are the only 3 digital planetaria that are in South Africa.
Yeah, we're also exploring as Sally said, the 360-degree version. And, if we can, once we can have events and, science centers can reopen, we're looking at having these VR headsets available in science centers with the 360-degree version where people can then experience it there.
I think this is, I'm going to ask Simpiwe to jump in here as well, but I think it also is quite an exciting thing, when you think we have VRs, for instance, at Sereo, and we're also just the thing that you were mentioning earlier, just about the general shortage of content, and just to know that there's this exciting project that is South African for South Africans and the world, that we can also use and show to communities is quite exciting. Simpiwe, do you want to just, have some last words?
Thank you, Nomfundo. I just wanted to sort of add some points on what Daniel and Sally have said in terms of what they are still planning to do, but also in some way touching on people that are curious as to where they can get to watch these. And of course, there's been in the past this reliance on these type of products from other countries, and most of them usually had dome view and rectangular view. So that's definitely something that is worth exploring here in South Africa, so that you don't only have it at the places that Sally mentioned, those three main places, but even for the inflatable mobile planetariums. And I know even Hadrao in the past used to go to schools and other festivals with that inflatable mobile planetarium, so you're able to reach as many people as possible. I do know sister organization like SASTA also has that. And if the resources do come through, we would have a version where a person might even be able to play it on a TV screen or on their computer and all of that. So we're just looking at ways to get it out there to the people. And what really excites me is exactly what Sally mentioned about this being the only one of its kind coming from here in terms of from start to finished product. It's all South African, and it has this South African narrative. So it's definitely something we want everyone in all corners of the country to have access to. And so we'll be working very hard to get that across as part of our science engagement activities. Of course, we have to look at blended approaches because of the constraints around lockdown, COVID, and all of that. So I believe this is definitely a step in the right direction.
All right.
So, yeah.
Thank you all so much. It's actually quite interesting. My first, not first, but one of my first initial engagements or contact with astronomy as a science was through the mobile planetarium in a very small town in Mpumalanga. So, and today we are working in astronomy. So I think I say this to say that the science is important, and I think that, the work that is being done here really is significant in ways that, might some help in other types of spillovers, But thank you all so much. Today was quite an exciting conversation. And I think this kind of brings us to the end of the conversation. Simpiwe, do you want to add anything before I close the show completely?
Not much. It's just to thank the participants, and I definitely look forward to us working more collaboratively and sharing ideas on how really to continue with the science engagement in these various platforms. Because for the longest time, I have been doing science engagement through physical interaction, going to venues where you have large numbers of people, and it was just dotted experiences where you have online and virtual platforms. But this definitely is something that's here to stay, and we may as well make the most of it and have it as immersive and as exciting and as informative as possible moving forward. So thank you everyone.
Thank you, Superior, and thank you,
All
Nomfundo.
right. All right. I think
Yes,
that's a
thank
wrap.
you.
That's a wrap, ladies and gentlemen. Daniel is his contact details are on the chat. It's inquiries at saa.ac.za. Simpiwe is contactable at smadlanga@ska.ac.za. And Sally, I don't have your contact details on the put up there, but should any of you want to contact them, our details are available, and we could gladly pass those details on. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for a fruitful conversation. Hope to see you next time.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.